Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Inside Lowell Daily Pulse, the Thursday morning, January 9th edition of the Daily Pulse. And my special guest this morning here in the WellPoint studios, none other than Gerry Nutter, former Lowell School Committeeman, former 980 WCAP Morning Show Host. It's like a meeting of the former hosts.
That's it, yeah.
Here in the WellPoint studios. How are you, man?
I'm good. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. How's life working now in the public sector?
I very much am enjoying my time working with the kids, and I'll be at Lowell High later on this morning working with kids starting at 10:45.
Yeah, you're working for the Mass Higher Greater Lowell Workforce Board Career Center. Whatever.
Yeah,
it's got a long title,
connecting
right?
activities. Yeah,
yeah, but you're working with high school kids. You're kind of on your stage there, always working with schools and kids.
And then now we're expanding a little bit. So we offer workshops in the middle school, and I'll be doing one at the Starkloska in a couple weeks.
Love it.
Yeah,
Love it.
I do too. Love it.
Excellent. And thank you for joining us. This is going to be an abbreviated version.
Yeah, we don't get up this early in the morning anymore, you and I.
No, but to accommodate your work schedule, we're recording this real early, and we're letting you go real early. So we're going to get right to it with Gerry. Let me just first thank our sponsors. Of course, we mentioned we're here in the WellPoint studios. WellPoint is the only health plan offering health care benefits exclusively to Massachusetts GIC members. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. And I also want to thank our friend Real Estate Ray Booten, official sponsor of the Inside Lowell Daily Pulse, licensed realtor in Massachusetts and New Hampshire, certified appraiser in both of those states as well. If you're looking to buy or sell a home or a commercial property, Real Estate Ray Booten is your man. In a few minutes, we'll thank the rest of our Inside Lowell podcast sponsors. But I want to talk to you, Gerry. I want to take advantage of your school's kind of expertise. It was a big focus of you when you were doing radio. You served on the school committee for a couple of years. You've worked in schools. Are the Lowell school buildings, okay, well, we'll save the school department talk for a few minutes, but the school buildings themselves, are they the disaster that it appears to be based on all these stories we're hearing, and again the other night on the council floor about the high school, about the Pawtucketville Memorial School? Or is this just normal in other school districts and other parts of the state?
It really is normal. To the credit of the past council, and even dating back to, when Eileen was here, they have started to put a lot of money into facilities, and the council and this administration, they have really taken advantage of the repair program that the state offers.
Yeah, the MSBA Accelerated Repair Program.
There's so many different schools getting upgraded, boilers, windows. Money that hasn't been put in for a lot of years. It's not a quick and easy fix. There's still issues. The Pawtucket Memorial, again, that's going to be an issue for a while until they get it all fixed. But they're at least addressing it, something that hasn't happened for a long time.
Right. So you're confident that with a few years of this much attention being paid to it and money being poured into it, and hopefully more money coming from the state, that we can get some of these buildings? Because even what were known as the quote, the new schools, the Pawtucketville Memorial, and those are 30-plus-year-old buildings now, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but there's like the Robinson School, the McAuliffe School, right in my neighborhood. They're putting money into those schools, so that's a good thing. And the other night, listening to what's going on over at the gym, the manager probably has a lot more patience than either you or I, because I would have called Jim Dowd into my office the following morning and told him to get the hell out, and called Skanska and said, I want somebody else running this project. Because to let this get this bad and not have the notification, and if you recall listening to the meeting, he threw the administration under the bus the first chance they got. They knew all about it. Well, what the hell are you doing about it? We're paying you, and I'm doing the best I can. Then it's not good enough. Let's get somebody else in there. They won't do that, but they should.
And that's the frustrating part. I don't know if you saw my podcast with Mayor Rourke yesterday, but I listen, and when we can, this isn't to bring up the old scars of the high school thing. There's a legitimate point to be made for, are they working on a tighter time frame, on a tighter footprint than they would have had to? If that's the case, Jim Dowd not only needs to say that today, Jim Dowd and Skanska and everyone else should have said said it 5 years ago, 7 years ago now, when we were all stabbing each other over the location thing, but they didn't.
I heard you say that yesterday with the mayor. And my comment to that is these guys, you know, Suffolk, they've done this at other schools, other places. You know, they knew what the footprint was.
Yep.
They knew, they bid on the job knowing everything that went into it. So don't turn around now and say, well, we didn't realize. Yes, you did. You knew what the hell you were bidding on. And Skanska, Dowd, oh, I'm from Lowell. Yeah, well, too bad. Get the hell out. You're not doing your job, in my opinion.
And that's why I'm still of the mind that this is shoddy construction oversight, and these folks need to be held accountable.
Yep.
And because they haven't said, you know, if they say anything now, like, well, we're building in a school zone while kids are in school, but they haven't said it.
Yeah, and they won't because they know they'd get crucified for it. And, you know, unfortunately, I get it. Big projects, you know, Somerville High School, huge project. They're having similar issues. So it's not just us, it's other big schools, brand new, and it's all brand new. And that's what this building is. This is all brand new construction.
Correct. This was the easy part.
Supposedly
the gym was the easy part, right?
Yep.
And I actually did a little searching online. Suffolk Construction, again, this is a national player.
Yeah, huge.
They're working on the Dana-Farber expansion there, new buildings, and they're having similar type of issues, which, you know, again, is it a Suffolk issue? Is it are the subcontractors all incompetent throughout the state, throughout the country? I don't know, but either way, the MSBA was created to protect cities and towns from this. You know, we used to have a clerk of the works who oversaw those, all those school building projects in the 90s. There was some discussion of that. I found it silly given the fact that you have an OPM, a project manager. This is their job. It's their responsibility. Is there a fiscal responsibility to these people? Should they have to pay for any overages or repairs on this?
Absolutely. They should. The city should not pay anything to fix any of the problems Councilor Janess mentioned, because that's all stuff that should have been taken care of. And
amen.
I know it was either Dowd or it was Paul St. Cyr who said something about something breaking, kids breaking. And to Councilor 𝐿𝐺𝐬𝐢's credit, he was like, no, don't give me that. That's not, no. And he was right. And I do, by the way, applaud the council because, you know, if you look at the council, a lot of those councilors were for moving it out of the downtown. They never brought any of that up. They never went overboard. They never were too dramatic. They're just saying, we're paying all this money, do the job correctly.
Right. That decision was made. It's now almost 8 years ago, 2017. Right. The focus should be on giving these kids the best school that is not an embarrassment. And we're failing, and it's whether we want to blame Skanska or Suffolk or Perkins, Eastman, or whoever, or the MSBA for basically not really creating any accountability in this system. These companies are making big money.
They're making huge money, and they should be held accountable. And Dowd did not impress me at all the other night, throwing everybody, I'm doing the best I can. Then you're not doing good enough. Get out.
I heard he stormed out of the room. Yeah. He was not a happy man that night.
He should storm out of the city. Okay? If I was on the school committee, I'd put in a motion to ask him to be replaced.
He'd be coming in front of the school committee
exactly.
for the same testimony. Pawtucket Memorial School.
Have fun with the manager on this next week, by the way.
He's in. I know, he's going to sit Wednesday, right there Wednesday. Pawtucketville Memorial School, is that a lost cause, that building, between the mold issues and all the other things? Is it maybe time to start thinking about getting, and we're seeing Chelmsford, the Parker School, and other schools getting in the MSBA thing, Drake it?
Even if you do that, it is going to take years.
Right.
So you just have to use the MBTA funding that you can get and, put in the systems that you can put in and then clean up and fix what you have to fix, whether it's hiring outside contractors or what. But you have to rectify that problem. You can't keep letting it go on. You can't hear the same complaints over and over.
All right. Facilities department. This has been a big thing of Councilor Eric 𝐿𝐺𝐬𝐢. I actually spoke to him on the phone over the weekend. He believes that there needs to be a common facilities department in the city. And he even said that there should probably be some level of that, some department of that in the high school building itself, because that's not just one school building. That's a campus. That's a huge property. Is it time to start looking at for the city to start looking at some changes here?
This has been talked about since John Leahy and Jimmy Leary were on the school committee and brought it up then. And now
Is it time to take it seriously?
Absolutely, it's time. It's time to do that. And Councilor 𝐿𝐥𝐥𝐸 was correct when he kept saying we ought to have people at the high school now, when they're installing this stuff, to learn about it, to fix it. Just figure out how you're going to pay for it, and what you have to cut to provide that stuff, and you have to do it.
I mean, you could obviously would be some type of reorganization combining the city and school side, but you'll need some level of expansion to staff that building. One of the other things that troubled me was kind of this revelation that, all right, well, you're putting in all this new state-of-the-art 21st century equipment, but you've got a staff that hasn't been trained on it. So when something does go wrong,
you have to hire an outside contractor to fix it.
Right.
Yeah, I know. He's right. You need people at the school full time. I mean, at one point, when Salah Kilfawi was here, before Salah got here, they hired an electrician and a plumber who worked for the school department. The year of the high school fight, Salah took advantage and wanted some money, and he said, no, that's on the city side. And he cut those positions from the budget and said the city needs to take care of that stuff. So, they lost that at the high school.
It was an outside contractor, or it was specifically school department employees?
School department employees, things that Leahy and Leary had pushed for, when they were on the school committee, and they hired them. And then they eliminated them. Salah eliminated them when they, when there was some money issues, and they took advantage of. Kevin can't have too many fights going on, and the high school was the main one.
I mean, I think it's maybe time to give it a chance. I'm not sure it'll work. Again, you're seeing a 2-year-old building with major issues. Do we have a problem just in Massachusetts, if not this entire country, with construction in general? I mean, you'd think they'd be better at designing things, but when a 100-year-old building, the Kirk Street building or the Coburn building,
actually, you're going to find out that the 1922 building is the best building over there.
Oh, 100%. I firmly believe that. I've been told. No, they don't match. Look, the 1980 building had to get torn down. The 1900 one.
That was a new building when I was a senior in high school. They were building it.
Correct. So we've had this issue for a while.
Right.
Like, why can't they just build things right the first time? Mind-numbing.
Yeah, it's sad. So, it will get addressed, but it's going to be, a painful. Like I said, I would start by getting rid of the acting OPM. He's not doing the city any favors. At least he wasn't presenting himself, in my opinion, very well at that meeting.
And did you watch the school building committee meeting from December 19th, where he spoke with confidence, but boy, the tone of his voice didn't project confidence about the contingency funds and overruns and what's going to happen going forward. They still have a year and a half, right, of construction for this.
Yeah, but you know what? The place has been gutted, and the windows are going. They haven't, knock on wood, run into any more unexpected issues. And I think when they get to the 22 building, that's going to be the best building that they've had to work in.
Is that the Kirk Street building, or is that the Coburn building? Because he said they hadn't gotten into the Coburn building yet. That's the last
building.
Is that 22, or is that the actual 1800s building?
It might be the 1800s. I forget.
It's crazy to think stuff 100 and
it's still standing with no issues. They're not leaking,
and your gym is leaking. It's mind-numbing. You actually had some information about the school department.
Somebody had, people still reach out because I was on the school committee, and I still do radio
Saturday mornings,
every other Saturday. I love this schedule, by the way, with Shaw. Every other Saturday, and then Marty's on this week. We're off next week. It's Martin Luther King holiday weekend, so I'm on grandpa duty. So
there you go.
If I have a chance to be on grandpa duty, bye-bye.
Okay. So what do we know about the
So somebody reached out to me and I asked some questions about some of the finance. Apparently, I'm not even sure the budget that's online on the Lowell School Department site is even the correct budget. I don't think it's been updated. I don't think it shows the changes that have been made. But they compared that to the auditor does a monthly report for the council at the end of the month. So she posted a report on the end of November. And somebody pointed out to me that, there were charges to a couple of accounts that had no funding in them. How can you charge an account that doesn't have funding in it? And I didn't bring my glasses in with me, and I should have, because I wrote some notes here to keep an eye on it. But and the other concern somebody had is the transportation account. According to the auditor's report, as of the end of November, 79.5% of that account has already been spent. You got 5.5 months left of school.
3 months into the school year, they spent 75%.
That's 79.5. That's according to the auditors. But again, I'm not sure if the money that you see on the school department budget is correct, if transfers haven't been updated. There's a lot of questions, but it does make you nervous to think that all that money, has been spent. And I know at one point they increased the budget, and Johnny Dakota at the time was going, "Why? We had this figured out. What's going on?" And didn't get a great answer. There's also again, somebody pointed out to me, there's a $5 million line item in the auditor's report that shows $5 million for citywide negotiators. I could not find that anywhere in the budget, in the school committee's budget, but in the auditor's report for citywide schools as a line item. And I went and looked it up. I found it on the auditor's report, but I couldn't find it in the city budget, in the school department budget. So
$5 million for budget negotiators?
It says citywide negotiators. So I'm not sure what that is. I'm not sure if that was the money that they set aside for raises and just didn't mark it as such, but it's still sitting there. So the question is, what is it and why is it there?
Sounds like we need to bring Liam Skinner, the superintendent of schools, in here one of these days, which we will, by the way.
How can you have charges? Like I said, there's a grant manager position that has charges against it. There's no grant manager position anymore. That was folded into something else. Tutor's position that has charges against it doesn't make any sense. Liaisons, parent liaison positions. It shows that with 5.5 months left, a $481,000 budget is down to $19,933. How does that make? So there's a lot of questions. And I said to the person, listen, I don't delve into this anymore because of, I'm not on the radio. I'm not writing a blog. I'm not coming on here every week.
We can arrange that if you'd like, Gerry.
I'm really enjoying just taking a step back.
Hell, you can sit in this chair.
I know.
There might be days I want to take off.
You've offered it to me on many occasions.
Yes, that offer still stands.
Yeah, I know,
sir.
But no, I like the fact that I've stepped away. But it does leave a lot of questions. There's been, I'm hearing now that even the city has some concerns. So it'll be something to watch. My concern to start when the school year started is they did not hire a CFO. Bill Samaras and I had talked on air about the fact that what they should do is what Slog Kalfawi did when he first got here, and that is hire somebody for 6 months, who has the experience. He brought in Frank Antonelli, who was a business manager at the Vogue for years and years, until he finally hired Gary Fish. They didn't do that. They just, they used different people. And we have, there's a gentleman who's now the assistant. His title is assistant director, assistant superintendent of finance, or something along those lines. But he's worked, in Reading with a $56 million budget. He worked at LaSalle University in a finance role with a $90 million budget. But now he's working with over a $200 million budget. Does he understand? I mean, there's so many different line items. It just needs some clarification. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of people on the school committee who understand budgets and understand, the public looking at this and questioning.
Yeah, that was your area of focus in particular. The 2 years you served money, right. Budgeting, but you looked at an awful lot. To be clear, you're not necessarily saying that they're in trouble or there's some kind of bad budgeting, but just that there's some things that need explaining.
There's some explaining that needs to happen. There's some cleanup that needs to happen to make sure that there's no issues going on.
But you're told that on the city side there's a little concern. It's the city auditor who looked at this.
Well, let's see. No, I mean the auditor reviews it.
Right.
But the school committee is supposed to get a quarterly financial report. I haven't seen one posted. So they need to get that. They need to ask for it. They need to get, with meetings with the auditor. I'm sure they do, but they need to be more public aware. The people are watching this, especially now in an election year. You're going to have people running for council. They're going to be looking at this. I heard Marty Laurie in here with you this week. He's saying that there's going to be an issue between the schools and the city. I don't think there will be, because the school department is paid for by the state. Chapter 70 money, they can't touch that. And what the city gives in actual cash is a very small percentage of the net school spending requirement. They charge everything to maintenance of effort and all that. So I don't see a big problem with that.
All right, just a couple of minutes left before I have to let you go to your real job. But I appreciate you coming in bright and early in the morning.
Yeah,
I'm up with the kids anyway, so
I haven't fully transitioned, because I don't leave my house now until like 10 past 8 in the morning. I don't start till 8:30.
What are you doing with all this extra time? Digging into school department stuff.
Well,
is the school committee doing its job? Why is Gerry Nutter, former school committee member, former radio host, guest here? Why is he looking into this?
I'm really not looking into it. Just somebody happened to call me and reach out to me and said, hey, can you explain this? And I couldn't explain it, so I looked at it, and I still, and I haven't done any follow-up, because I tried to explain to them, I'm out of this now.
Okay, but are they paying enough focus to this money stuff? I'm seeing a lot about personnel issues, about who's getting appointed to what. But I'm not hearing the budgeting type questions that you were famous for.
They haven't been. Even during the budget sessions, they haven't been. They just don't understand it enough to question some of the stuff. They question some of the minutia stuff, but they really need to be pushing to get this report. They need to have an up-to-date budget on the site for the public to see, because there are people who are going to run for office who are going to take what they see on the site and say, what's going on here? And you don't want to make anybody look foolish, or you don't want to make yourself look incompetent. So it needs to be cleaned up.
All right. So does the administration understand a lot of this stuff? Liam Skinner knew on the job, and then didn't really have, he had a classroom background and a leadership principal background. Financially, he's got to rely on his people. There was the issues with Billie Joe Turner, and she had some personal issues, and she wasn't there, and now she's gone. So is this something that maybe just needs a little cleaning up, or are you concerned that they created some type of structural budget issue that they're going to have to dig out of, not just clean up?
I don't know if it's that bad yet, but I think it's starting when you can find things easily like I did. Then it needs to be cleaned up before somebody takes just something. And I mean, you could blow up a whole story if we had anyone doing this stuff anymore, because you and I and the Sun aren't doing all this stuff anymore. But, just on transportation alone, how can you have 79% of your budget, as the auditor in her report? The other question for the auditor, though, is how do you approve payment against items that don't have any money funded for them? And there's 2 that I saw,
And so all payments, even on the school side, have to go through the city auditor first. Everything has to go through the auditor's office.
Everything has to be approved. Yeah, she reviews everything.
All right. Well, we're going to start asking some questions. Maybe we'll bring you back on a day where we have some more time.
Yeah, we'll have to do it on a day I'm off, or
holidays.
Friday afternoon. No, you do this too early. We're just going to have to get up early again and do it.
Or we can do a different podcast. It doesn't have to be.
Oh, that's true.
We'll do a daily pulse, and then we'll
do another one.
Then we'll do another one. But Gerry Nutter, thank you so much for coming on here.
Thank you. Wish I could have hung around, but duty calls.
Next time we'll get you to hang around longer. Thank you so much. We thank Gerry for joining us here. I also want to thank our Inside Lowell podcast sponsors. We're coming to you from the WellPoint Studios. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. Thanks to Real Estate Ray Booten sponsoring the Inside Lowell Daily Pulse. And if you'd like to become a sponsor of the Daily Pulse or sponsor at Inside Lowell on our podcast, shoot me an email, Teddy Panos at AOL. You can do Teddy Panos at AOL.com, or it's Ted Panos at AOL.com, Teddy Panos at InsideLowell.com. Gotta get my emails straight, folks. Anyway, we thank Real Estate Ray Booten, licensed realtor, Massachusetts and New Hampshire, certified public appraiser in both of those states as well. If you're looking to buy or sell your home, a home, or a commercial property, Real Estate Ray Booten is your man. Thank you to our friends at Washington Savings Bank, a community bank in every sense of the world. And now more than ever, that's important, folks. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank. TMI Properties, quality and value at every price point. Find your perfect space with TMI. Hopefully our mill number 5 businesses have found their perfect space with TMI. We'll see how those things develop. Thank you to our friends at Mahoney Oil, providing warmth and protection to Greater Lowell and Southern New Hampshire since 1925, a century of protecting your families, your homes, and fueling them. Thank you as well to Francis E. Prevention Insurance, the agency Greater Lowell has counted on since 1982. And of course, thank you to the Massachusetts Pirates, bringing all the hard-hitting action and excitement of arena football to the Mill City. A couple of programming notes. Today again is our Inside Lowell Daily Pulse, our 4th Inside Lowell Daily Pulse. You can watch all of these episodes. The great thing about podcasting is if you miss it when you record it or when it's done live, you can catch it whenever it's convenient for you. You can binge watch them. Go back and watch Monday's show with Greg Pappas or Tuesday's prediction show with Marty Laurie. Yesterday, Mayor Rourke. Today, Gerry Nutter. Tomorrow's show, we're going to have a little fun. We're going to bring the Pod Squad together for the first time on the Inside Lowell Daily Pulse. My buddy Mike Batchagalupo, the Hyphen, Michaela Hondas McCarthy will be here as well. We're going to have some fun with those, a very serious topic, but you know us, we're irreverent. The California wildfires. This story is wild. The level of mismanagement and incompetence that has created this situation is really kind of mind-numbing. We're going to talk a little bit about that and beyond. Next week, as we mentioned, you heard Gerry mention it, and we've been mentioning it all week. On Wednesday, Lowell City Manager Tom Golden will join us in the hot seat here for the Daily Pulse. Lots to talk about him. We'll see if we can, with him, I should say, we'll see if we can get some more information on the front-runner cities discussion that we had yesterday with Dan Rourke. The manager is in discussions now, negotiations. What does it entail? Yesterday, if you missed yesterday's podcast, the mayor talked about, forget hundreds of millions of dollars of potential investment. He said the B word, billions of dollars of potential investment. Fascinating stuff. And I really going to spend a lot of the early part of 2025 focusing on this, because I think together with Link, what UMass Lowell is doing over there with their Link development on East Campus and the potential that this front-runner cities brings, I think Lowell might be an unrecognizable place in 5 to 10 years. And I think we may go back to our roots from the 1860s as the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution. We could be the birthplace of a new 21st century business, economic, AI, whatever it entails out there. Lowell appears to be on the cutting edge of that, or set up to be on the cutting edge of that. A lot of it due to the university, but also, a lot of it due to kind of the solid management of this city council and this administration in connecting with the folks from the United Nations. I mean, it's going to be comical to think that our Lowell elected officials might be sitting on the stage at the United Nations in May of this year, signing an agreement, making them the first front-runner city in Massachusetts. Anyway, we'll talk more about that with City Manager Tom Golden next Wednesday. On Monday, Frank McCabe, the host of Can I Be Frank, he just recorded a podcast last night that will be dropping later on today as well. He'll be our special guest. On Thursday, this is the one I wanted to tease. No disrespect to Frankie McCabe or to the city manager. State Auditor Diana ΔeZoglio is going to join us. It's January 9th, 2025. It's the new year. The law that you voted on, 72% of you in Massachusetts, and of course we voted for it heavily in Lowell and the greater Lowell communities, voted to give the auditor the authority to audit the state legislature. Something that the legislature has been fighting, saying she doesn't have that authority. She says she has. She's pulled out examples of that office, not her, but that office doing these audits historically in the past, some in the not too distant past. Either way, you voted to make this law. And when a ballot initiative passes, it's the law of the land in Massachusetts. Guess what? Beacon Hill's not complying with that law. They have not released anything. And as a matter of fact, yesterday in a news story, the Speaker of the House, Ron Mariano, said, very Bill Clinton-ish, compliance is in the eye of the beholder. In other words, well, we're going to say we're complying, but, the auditor may not think we're complying. I thought when you passed a law, and especially when the people pass a law, right? When the people pass a law, that's sacred, right? Ballot initiatives, whether it was marijuana, whether it was the elimination of the MCAS, whether it was gambling. I'll think of all the ballot initiatives through the years. Prop 2.5, which they would love to do away with. Trust me, the legislature has wanted to do away with Prop 2.5 from the moment it passed 4 decades ago. But that's the law. It passed. You, the voter, passed it. Suddenly now there's a dispute over whether people have to comply with this law, what compliance with the law means, what the definition of compliance is. Like Bill Clinton, what's the definition of is? Is the definition of is? I mean, what are we doing here? The people spoke, and yet the Attorney General is quiet. The Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Andrea Campbell, seems like she's kind of trying to punt. She wants no part of this. It's the law. You need to enforce it. If the legislature isn't complying, you need to enforce it. Next Thursday, January 16th, a week from today, State Auditor Diana DiZoglio will join us by Zoom. We'll talk a little bit more about this and see, maybe by next Thursday there'll be some resolution and she will get the documentation she has requested for her audit. But up to this point, January 9th, there continues to be an effort to stall her, to disobey the laws of the Commonwealth. And here's an effort to not even let the courts rule on this. Good stuff. Good stuff happening. Lots of stuff happening. Got some other special podcasts coming up in the next week or so that we'll tell you all about. But for now, we're going to wrap things up here on this Thursday, January 9th. Again, thank you to Gerry Nutter for joining us. Thank you for tuning in whenever it is you're watching it, whether you're watching it at noon when this podcast drops, later on in the day, whether you're watching it a week from today or a month from today. As we like to say here at Inside Lowell, we provide news, information, and entertainment sometimes on your schedule, not ours. Till next time, everybody stay safe.